Welcome back to the next episode of the Big Gay Overalls podcast. Thank you for joining me. My name's Lisa Kirkman. I'm the host of this little production where I talk through my journey of coming out late in life and also things that might affect other people that are coming out late in life, and maybe it'll help you on your journey a little bit. I like to talk about, finding freedom, authenticity, and embracing who we truly are, and also some of the messier aspects to coming out late in life. But I also want to show that we don't have to get stuck in the struggle. There can be so much good that comes with embracing our identity and being who we are. So today we're going to dive into a topic that probably hits home for a lot of us, no matter where you are in your journey, is navigating friendships post coming out, because that can be challenging. It can induce anxiety. Is this going to be the conversation I have where it all turns to shit, where I get a negative reaction, like a whole heap of stuff? And, I acknowledge that coming out is powerful. It's liberating, it's freeing, but it's also messy and it's complicated. And there's so many layers, and we bring so much, particularly when you're coming out late in life, you're bringing so many layers of stuff with you that you've got to sort of work through all that and figure out where it all fits. And it's a big shift in your identity. And, the later you come out, the longer that people have known you in one way. And now you're going to be this new version. And, talking about friendships, friends are the family we choose for ourselves generally. I know that my friends have always been closer to me than actual family. So that's a big, scary thing to think of, something that negatively impacts that. And friendships are, essential. So we need to go through a process of redefining and maybe even finding a new support circles, and how we navigate those changes with courage for ourselves to do that, and also grace for them and grace for us, because everyone's dealing with the change. So I'm going to talk through some of my own sort of journey, and please share your experiences in the comments, DM me, whatever platform you're on, leave a comment. I'm happy to engage in conversation on this, because I think the more that we talk about it, the more that we can dispel some of the stuff that just makes it icky and hard. And I'm a big fan of, like, let's put a light on things, because once there's a light on it, it takes away its power. So, for me, I guess, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Coming out, especially when it's later in life, it can be tough on friendships. People have come to know you as a certain way. And, sort of feel like that's okay if that's how you knew me and that's how you choose to continue to want to know me, but that person is not going to evolve anymore. For many of us, these friendships have been built over many years, and sometimes decades, sometimes a lifetime. And the idea of reshaping or losing those connections can be really daunting and scary. I know it was for me, 100%. And sometimes it's like you're standing at crossroads, knowing that on the other side is freedom and authenticity and the life that you want. But there could be a cost that not everyone is going to come with you on that journey. And sometimes it's by their choice. Sometimes you self-select them out. But it's hard. And it's uncomfortable to go, well, as much as they're getting used to a new version of you, you're still getting used to this version of you. And what does my life look like if these people don't come with me? What is it like? And it can be scary, because you can have those fears that I'm going to wind up on my own. And I know I felt that too, particularly with some people I felt particularly close to. And then I thought, if I don't have this relationship, can I go on? What's it going to look like? And it was very daunting and scaring to me. And for me, I guess the most surprising thing about coming out was that some friends just, didn't know what to do with it. I had the full gamut of responses, like super supportive right away, or, well, duh, thanks for coming. We're glad you finally figured it out. And some, there was a sort of a sense of discomfort and distance that sort of started creeping in. And I noticed that with, a second cousin of mine who I was particularly close with, but they are quite religious, and that's cool. Like, never, throwing it down anyone's throat, but there has been that distance that's been created about, you know, not talking as much, not being invited to as many things. And it's just it just even felt a little odd when we caught up. So that's been a hard one for me to get my head around, I guess. Um, and I had a couple of friends who were like, oh, wow. And then they just didn't know what to do with it. It was an awkward conversation. So, that was confusing and painful. But over time, it was just part of me redefining and getting very clear on my support system, a support system that would truly align with who I am now, not who I was pretending to be. Like, if you're attached to that old version of me, you didn't really know them. That isn't really who I was. It was what I created and manufactured and putting out to the world, but it wasn't me. And this version of me continues to evolve and grow. That version is stuck. Like, that's where it stops. The journey stops there. And it's sad and it's painful. And at times, particularly when it's someone that you wanted to bring forward on the journey with you, but they're not coming. And so there is a bit of that grief and loss around that. But also reconciling that it's okay. Like, as much as I'm on my journey, they're on their journey through life and they're doing them. And I want them to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I want them to be well. If the shit hit the fan, I'd be there in a heartbeat. All good. And I don't want angst and animosity, and I don't want that whole, well, you didn't respond to me the way that I thought you should, and it's not fair and whatever. Like, I'm not entitled to anything. Um, I'm excuse me. I'm entitled to live my life and live authentically, but beyond that, I'm not entitled to anything from anyone else. So I had to kind of get my head around that. And, coming out is an amazing act of self acceptance because that's where it starts. Essentially, you've really got to come out to yourself first. Doesn't matter who else, even if that's the only person, you need to come out to yourself. But it's an act of, what's the word I'm looking for? Self transformation. So when we change and evolve, then some friendships may shift too. That quote about, people come into your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. It's rung true for me so many times throughout my life's journey, so many times. And I have to keep coming back to that. Like, it just because things change, it doesn't mean that they don't care about us anymore, but they're adjusting to this new layer of who we are. And for some people, that takes more time. And maybe we've had more time to adjust to it ourselves. Because, like, for me, I spent, 10 years in awareness before I then started coming out. So I had 10 years to get used to and figure out who Lisa was. Spoiler alert, still not figured it out. But they're just getting this information today. And to expect them to respond appropriately in a 10-minute conversation, probably not. And they just might not know how to respond. And that's okay. And it's all part of the process because I'm pretty sure if we reflect back when we came out to ourselves, if we really sit with that, how did we respond to ourselves? How did we take it on? So I think we've got to give each other grace and make space for us and our friends to process it and create, like, be okay with creating a support network that matches our current selves. In Glennon Doyle's book, and someone just reminded me of this the other day, in Untamed, she talks about islands. So people sit on, they're just on a further island. They're not on this island with us, which is the core circle. I talk about it in circles. So someone might just self-select to an outer circle. Don't hate them. Not in my daily life. Still want them to be well and happy, but they're not involved in the inner workings of my life. And as our relationships shift and our identities shift and our perceptions of ourselves and perceptions of others and also what we need, like, coming out has helped me get super clear on my values. Like, what do I value? And that leads us to reaching out to new and different people, or maybe reconnecting with people who maybe feel more in alignment with who we are now. And, people might reach back out to you when they see that you're truly authentic, and that aligns back where for a period that misalignment let them, kept them at arm's length. And I found that after coming out, I was drawn to friends that celebrated this part of me. They were excited for me. They were genuinely happy for me. They celebrated me. And they were people who not only supported my sexuality, but also they understood the experiences that came along with it. And even if they didn't understand it, they held the space for me to talk through it, or they asked, thoughtful questions. And I think, when we find these soul friends, as I like to call them, it's super, super important. They are the people who will lift us up, who see you for who you are and know you without any layers and pretense. And it might mean reconnecting with people from the past who've also grown and changed, and you've come back at this beautiful synergy. Or it could mean your circle is broadened to new people, new experiences in new spaces that feel safe and affirming. And it's amazing, like so many of my relationships got better when I was being authentic. But like I said before, some did change. And I had to reconcile that and have grace for me and have grace for them in the process. And it's also important to remember that when we're creating new relationships, it doesn't diminish the old ones. It just expands our circle of support, or clarifies it, makes it more specific. We're very clear about who's in and who's on the next levels. Just because somebody's in a slightly outer circle doesn't mean I think any less of them. It's just I understand the level that our relationship works at. I can't have 200 people in my inner circle. That is just not doable. So, as I evolved, a tougher part of the journey is that loss. And the reality that some friendships might naturally come to an end after we come out. And it's hard at the time and it feels icky. And it's a reality we don't often talk about because it can feel uncomfortable. But here's the thing: losing friends just because you're living authentically is not a reflection of their worth or my worth. It's a reflection of where that friend is in their journey and where I am in my journey. And that purpose has just come to an end. And while it's painful and it's hard to let go, sometimes, part of that is making room for something that's really going to mutually enrich your soul and their soul with a different connection that's going to come in. And, it's in my own life, there were a couple of friends that I had to let go of, not because they were bad people, but because they just didn't fully embrace and accept me as I am, and had some judgment around that. And that was hurtful. But over time, I've come to see it as a gift, a way of saying thank you to that friend for the good times, and I acknowledge the life we had. But that part of the journey is, my path is taking me somewhere that they weren't able to go. And that's okay. I mean, I'm the world's worst person for letting things go, don't get me wrong. But it's about being okay with, having a gap there. And, maybe that friendship would have petered out in a couple of years anyway, if it was just based on that superficial, like, I'm fine, how are you? Great, I'm fine. Good, how are you? I'm fine. If it's just based on that rather than being able to connect on a deeper level and, have, more important conversations and bigger conversations. And I guess that's one of the lessons I've had through being coached, is having someone who will actually ask big questions and hold space for the answer. And once you've started to have bigger conversations, you just want to have more of them. And I tend to be drawn now to people that don't just want to talk about the weather or other things. Like, we just want to talk about, like, what's going on for you? What does that feel like? And have better conversations. And even, since being with Sharon, like, she's a counselor by trade, as you all know. We have bigger conversations. One of our standard things is, how's your heart? How's your soul? How's your head? Like, that's a check-in, not so much like, how are you doing today? and we talk about and don't just accept the superficial. Yeah, I'm good. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? And once you experience that, and you can only, I believe, and this is just me, only experience that when you're truly authentic and you're okay with you, that you can then let someone else see that. And for me, the journey of coming out and experiencing this with my friendships is it's helped build resilient friendships. So, authentic friendships are resilient. They withstand the changes and shifts that come with growth. Like this journey for me has not been just a linear thing. Hey, I'm out. And then everything's just been, smooth sailing. I have ridden the gamut of emotions. It's a roller coaster. And anyone who has done this journey will be like, me too. But when we communicate openly and vulnerably, I can't even say the word today, or with vulnerability with our friends, it gives our relationships a solid foundation. So they know that it's a space where they can embrace that as well. And sometimes explaining why our coming out process matters so much to us and why we need them to support us. And sometimes it's about listening to where they're at. What are their challenges in this process? And I think sometimes when we're going through coming out, we can kind of get stuck in the it's all about me, which, it's a big deal. But we also have, and I keep coming back to this term, and it probably sounds like I'm being repetitive, coming back to this term of grace and giving them grace and space. And, when we have these open and honest conversations where we're vulnerable, it can help us deepen connections with friends who are ready to walk alongside us and making that network even stronger. And we're really clarified. We know who our people are. We know who our tribe is. And sometimes it comes from surprising sources as well. Like I've had some people who are in my inner circle that I am blown away by, and might be recent connections, or it might be someone who I've known a long time and they really stood up for me, during this time. So it's amazing sitting back and observing. And, through this podcast and my writing and stuff, my mission is to create a space where, we can talk freely about not only the struggles that comes with coming out late, but also, you know, some of the powerful flip side should we choose to embrace it. Like we can say that it's difficult to navigate friendships, it's hard and I've lost friends but on the flip side of that, what are the beautiful relationships that have been nurtured and grown and really flourished to like a next level? Like that's worth celebrating. So I guess, friendships like us, like they evolve, and sometimes they'll grow stronger and other times they'll just naturally fade out. And both are okay. In the end, your journey is yours, my journey is mine, and the people who are meant to be in your life will just embrace us as we are, and we will embrace them as they are. And I think that I talked on the podcast with Angela Briones the other day, episode 16. If you haven't listened to it yet, head over, watch it. She's the host of the Gay Podcast for Everyone. And we were talking about like, if we can role model like authenticity and vulnerability and have those conversations, then we're teaching other people that it's okay to do that, and we're showing them a different path. So I think that that's quite powerful. I'd really love to hear any stories you have about your friendships, messy, powerful, after coming out. Have you reconnected with old friends where the friendship has deepened, or, have you really tightened that circle? Did any change? And, you can leave a comment, reach out to me on socials. I'm Big Gay Overalls Podcast on all the platforms, TikTok, Threads, Instagram. Don't have Facebook. But on those three, YouTube, where you're watching this, or on the podcast channel, leave a comment. And Yeah, it's just stuff that I've been sort of rumbling in my head. I've been going to record this one for a couple of weeks, but I couldn't get my head right in my thoughts. So quite often I sit and I think and I think and I think and see what I can until it percolates and I go, oh, I'm ready to record. So I appreciate you all for listening or watching or just being part of the tribe. If you are looking for a supportive network, please reach out. There's a link in the show notes for our Embracing My Big Gay Overalls school group, where we are an amazing community just embracing these big conversations and no judgment. Wherever you are on your journey, there's a space for you there. But otherwise, please, connect, like, subscribe, do all the things. I appreciate every single person that listens to this. If you know that someone is struggling in this space, please, just share this episode with them. I think that the more we can talk about these things, then, as always, the more that we can talk about it, I think it's better. And I think we're, you know, opening that conversation that maybe someone can hear this and think of a different way to have a conversation with a friend or about a friend or um, help have some understanding, I guess, um, for their journey. Look at the flip side of it, that it's not just, like I said, it's not just about us. As much as it is, it's our personal journey. But, if we want to bring people with us on this journey, then we need to find a way to bring the right people. We don't just want to fill the bus with everybody. We want the right people on the bus with us that get it, that are, prepared to be open and honest and vulnerable with us and ask us hard questions as well. Don't just let us, get away with our own bullshit, because that's what we do as humans. Like someone who will say, hey, like, this is what I need to talk about. This is what I need. And this is where I'm at. And I think that that's a powerful reframe for us to have and just to accept where we're at. Anyway, be kind to yourself. Please, as I said, drop a like. There's all sorts of information in the show notes, how you can reach out. And yeah, a little bit shorter one this week. And we'll see you next week. We've got some, I think Sharon's going to come on next week for a Ask Me Anything. So she'll be in the driver's seat again. And that should be fun for all of you anyway. All right. Take it easy, guys. Keep embracing yourselves and see you on the next one.